Please subscribe now for more content on ancient history news, ancient civilizations, archaeology, world mythology, and mysteries. Aphrodite is the Olympian goddess of love, beauty, sexual pleasure, and fertility. She is regularly attended by a few of her children, the Erotes, who are capable of stirring up passion in both mortal and gods at the goddess's will. Portrayed as both insatiable and unattainable, Aphrodite was born near the coast of Cythera. Out of the foam, Uranus's castrated genitals created when they fell into the sea. Even though married to Hephaestus, she had affairs with all Olympians except Zeus and Hades, most famously with Ares, the god of war. She also had famous romance with two mortals, Anchises and Adonis. Aphrodite's name is usually linked to the ancient Greek word for sea foam, which is aphros, which fits nicely with the story of her birth. However, modern scholars think that both Aphrodite and her name predate ancient Greeks and that the story actually came because of the goddess's name. Aphrodite's portrayal and symbolism. If Apollo represented the ideal of the perfect male body to the Greeks, Aphrodite was certainly his most appropriate female counterpart. Beautiful and enchanting, she was frequently depicted nude. As a symmetrically perfect maiden, infinitely desirable, and as infinitely out of reach. She was sometimes represented alongside Eros and with some of her major attributes and symbols, which include a magical girdle and a shell, a dove or a sparrow, roses, and myrtles. Once during an important religious festival, the Cythera Phryne decided to swim naked in the sea. The famous painter Apelles was so overwhelmed by the exquisite sight that he drew the most famous, now lost painting of the ancient world, Aphrodite rising from the sea. Many artists have tried recreating it during the centuries past. The sculptor Portrayed had a bit more luck than Apelles. He also modeled his most celebrated sculpture of Aphrodite after Phryne, but a copy of that sculpture has survived to this day. It is one of the first life-size female nudes in history. Plato says that when Aphrodite saw the sculpture, "Alas," she said, "where did the praetors see me naked?" Worshipped by basically everybody, Aphrodite, the one who rises from the sea, was appropriately called Pandemos of all the people. However, she was also called Urania or heavenly, so some Greek moralists try to make a distinction between these two Aphrodites, claiming that Aphrodite Pandemos is the goddess of sexual desire and Aphrodite Urania the one of platonic love. Now, however, we know that this was the same goddess, called by numerous other contradictory epithets as well, which often describe the complex nature of love, including smiling love, merciful, and the one who postponed old age, but also unholy, the dark one, the killer of men. Aphrodite's birth. Homer and Hesiod tell two different stories about the origin of Aphrodite. According to the former, Aphrodite was the daughter of Zeus and the Titaness, Diana, thus making her a second-generation goddess, much like the most Olympians. However, Hesiod retells the much more famous myth. According to him, Aphrodite was born when Uranus' genitals fell into the sea after he was castrated by his son Cronus. The goddess of love emerged from the waters on the scallop shell, fully grown, nude, and more beautiful than anything anyone had ever seen before. The almighty Aphrodite, the goddess even gods cannot resist. Aphrodite was married to Hephaestus. She was so lovely that only the three virgin goddesses, Artemis, Athena, and Hestia, were immune to her charms and power. Unsurprisingly, the second she got on Olympus, she inadvertently wreaked havoc among the other gods, each of whom instantly wanted to have her for himself. So as to prevent this, Zeus hurriedly married her to Hephaestus, the ugliest god among the Olympians. Of course, this merely alleviated the problem. Aphrodite didn't plan to remain faithful, so she started an affair with someone as destructive and as violent as herself, Ares. Helios, however, saw them and informed Hephaestus, after which the cuckolded god made sure to devise a fine bronze net which ensnared the couple the next time they lay together in bed. To add insult to injury, Hephaestus called upon all other gods to laugh at the adulterers and freed them only after Poseidon agreed to pay for their release. Poor Hephaestus! He couldn't have known that when Poseidon saw Aphrodite naked, he fell in love with her all over again. He must have found out later, since Aphrodite gave Poseidon at least one daughter, Rhode. She didn't give up on Ares either. In fact, after the bronze net scandal, she bore a god of war as many as 8 children: Deimos, Phobos, Harmonia, Adrestia, and the 4 Erotes: Eros, Anteros, Portus, and Hemoros. Hermes didn't have many consorts, but he did have Aphrodite at least once, as the very name of their offspring, hermaphrodite, suggests. And if we take into account that Priapus is usually considered a son of Dionysus and Aphrodite, it seems that only Zeus and Hades managed to never fall for the goddess of love. But the second didn't even live on Olympus, and the other may have been her father. Aphrodite among the mortals. When she wasn't busy making other people fall in love, Aphrodite had some time to fall in love herself. Once, she took a baby boy she had found beside a myrtle tree to the underworld and asked Persephone to take good care of him. However, when she went to visit him after many years, she instantly fell in love with the now unusually handsome mortal. So he asked to have Adonis, for that was the boy's name, back. Persephone wouldn't allow this. Then Zeus settled the quarrel by dividing Adonis' time between the 2 goddesses. However, Adonis preferred Aphrodite, and when the time came, he didn't want to go back to the underworld. Persephone sent a wild bear to kill him, and Adonis bled to death in the Aphrodite's arm. The couple had 2 children, Beros and Gelgos. Another time, Aphrodite fell for a Trojan prince called Anchises, pretending to be a princess herself. She seduced him and slept with him. Only afterward, she revealed herself, promising him a noble son and warning him to keep the affair to himself. Anchises wasn't able to do this, so he was struck by Zeus' thunderbolt, which blinded him, and he wasn't able to see his son Aeneas, but found the mighty Roman Empire. Paris was the 3rd and final mortal who was blessed with seeing Aphrodite naked. This happened when he was tasked with judging who of the 3 goddesses, Aphrodite, Hera, and Athena, was the fairest. Aphrodite promised Paris the most beautiful girl in the world if he chooses her, so naturally he did. Aphrodite made sure that he gets Helen, the Spartan queen, and events which triggered the bloody decade Trojan War. Few dared to resist the power of Aphrodite. Hippolytus preferred Artemis to her and vowed to eternal innocence. Aphrodite met his stepmother. Phaedra fell in love with him, of both her and Hippolytus. After Aphrodite found out that Eos had with Ares, she caused her to be perpetually and unhappily in love. Diomedes wounded the goddess during the Trojan War, and suddenly his wife Aegae started sleeping around with his enemies. Psyche would have gone through an even ordeal, but unfortunately for Eros, Aphrodite's avenger shot himself instead of her and fell in love with Psyche instead. Do you have any question?